What is normal in your country but seems weird to the rest of the world? Golden Gay time. Okay, you're going to have to explain. Calling a traffic light a robot. Men holding hands in public as a display of friendship is normal in Afghanistan but super weird in the West. I think it's normal in most of the Middle East and India. Putting cable ties, branches, fake eyes etc on helmets, buckets and hats in springtime to scare away the birds. Magpies are vicious bastards. Bribing them with fairy bread works sometimes. Putting broken glass bottles on the walls around your house so burglars can't jump it and rob you. I moved to Canada and they don't even have walls around the houses. All of Latin America. Having spaghetti in McDonald's. Is this a thing only in the Philippines? Our wildlife is not trying to kill us. I'm fairly sure geese are at the very least plotting. It's funny, because I used to work with a bunch of Australians, and people would ask about their wildlife trying to kill them. When it got to the point where they'd become visibly irritated, I'd take the attention away by informing the group of all the things actually harmful in Arizona. I wish we would have made a game of Australia or Arizona. Whole restaurants cheering when a plate or glass is smashed. UK. Once was in a Canadian bar restaurant on holiday and a waiter dropped a tray of glasses. The local looked horrified when I was out of my seat screaming "Wee I. Am Canadian. Would be horrified haha." Blood pudding and fermented fish. Finland, Sweden. The cracks that are just wide enough to be able to see in and out of public restroom stalls. I've heard it's thought of as weird since many other countries enjoy the luxury of privacy. How else would you know if the stall is occupied though? Seriously though, as a European having to visit the US twice a year, pooping in the US is stressful. Eating with our hands. In 1969, the same year the man landed on the moon, Miss Gloria Diaz coveted the Philippines' first Miss Universe crown. During the preliminary Q&A, she was asked, "Is it true that you Filipinos use your hand when you eat?" To which she replied, "Why do you use your feet?" and went her way to winning the crown. Tax not included in advertised price. Yeah, I find this so weird. I could never get used to this when I lived in Ontario. I'm British. Dreaded each trip to the checkout because I'd never quite know how much I'd be spending. Vegemite. Vegemite. Going into the sauna naked while sharing the sauna with the other sexes. A short while ago they stopped selling alcohol after 10 p.m. At some stores you couldn't even get non-alcoholic beer. What's weird though is that wine is not considered an alcoholic drink, so you can buy it anytime. Welcome to Moldova. In certain US states you can't buy any alcohol in stores after 8 p.m. or on Sundays. Leaving your baby alone outside for their nap, even if it rains or snows. Reminds me of a beautiful comment I read a while ago about this subject by Ithzy. My daughter was born in Copenhagen, Denmark. Frederiksberg actually. We lived there for a few years after she was born. We learned from our Danish friends to let her sleep outside in the back garden of our flat in her pram during snowfalls. We kept an eye on her from the window. It was very soothing to her, and she would sleep very soundly. Sometimes when we would go out to check on her we would find her awake but quiet, just watching the snow falling around her. Some of my fondest memories of her time as a baby. Followed by, it's such a pure experience of love that it makes my heart ache to recall it. That was almost 18 years ago, but I still have crystal clear memories of her lying in the pram with snowflakes falling all around her little face. She would turn her head and smile at me for a moment and go back to looking up at the snow. I will never forget it. This is also the normal thing to do in Denmark. All midday naps are outside in a pram. Same if you are at a cafe. It's quite normal to leave your child outside in their pram, as long as you can see them. Marrying someone without knowing them and only seeing their face once the marriage is agreed on. Bagged milk. I know it's normal in some places but not here in the UK. Interestingly, businesses must have caught up with it, as every single Costa I've been to has milk in bags. Cunt is a term of endearment. Context dependent. Strangers sitting totally naked skin to skin in a steamy room heated to +80 to +100°C, and us having competitions on who can last the longest in there. I miss Finland. Red heart. We have matrimonial ads in newspapers and sites to find grooms and brides, which I think don't happen in Western countries, and they find it strange. The ads are mostly published by parents. It's like Tinder supervised by parents. In university we thumped the tables to applaud our professors, instead of actually applauding, or doing nothing. During my exchange semester everyone not from Germany was looking at me confused why I did this. In my country we don't applaud our professors, at least not in the one I go to. It has only happened once, when the lecture was especially interesting and professionally done. In my friend's country, Easter is when gangs of boys roam the countryside, pouring water over girls and beating them, gently, with sticks. The girls then have to thank them for it. I thought that was pretty weird. She's from Slovakia. Being left off of maps. Kiwi. Huh? This could be a great Hollywood plotline. Something apocalyptic happens and for hundreds of years humanity is in chaos. Then finally someone escapes on a ship and hits New Zealand, which has magically escaped the global chaos, and they're like, wow, this place wasn't on our maps. Calling mixed race people colored. I'm from South Africa and I am colored, but when I went on holiday in Spain, colored is a derogatory term, but in South Africa it's completely normal. It's kinda bad in the US as well. Nowhere as bad as the N-word though. Eating biscuits and gravy. I traveled to the UK and told them that biscuits and gravy is a very common breakfast food, and as you would expect they were highly confused. Biscuit equals cookie across the pond. Why we would take something sweet and cover it in gravy. And also was confused that the gravy we use has sausage in it and is white. Legal drinking age of beer and wine is 16. Hey, I'm visiting Germany and found that out a few days ago. I wonder what happens if I get drunk in Germany, and still drunk when I land. What would happen to me? Washing your butthole after taking a crap. Putting chips in our burgers. Edit. I'm referring to the British version. Fries in America but fatter. Everyone rags on the US for using imperial, but can we talk for a second about how weird we are here in the UK for using both inconsistently? You buy a pint of milk or beer, but a liter of Coke and 25 milliliters of whiskey. People know how many miles to the gallon their cars get, but you buy fuel at pence per liter. You watch the weather forecast and the temperature is in Celsius but the wind speed is in miles per hour. Most people can tell you their weight in kilograms, and their height in feet. And if they can't give you kilograms they can probably give you stone instead. Which is even older than pounds, which nobody uses as a unit of measurement. Probably because of the confusion between lbs and pound symbol. It's a glorious mess. Canada has this same problem. Distance is measured in metric but height and weight is in imperial. Being middle class with a property having a 6-foot wall, electric fencing linked to an alarm, automated gate and garage doors, with security clamps over the gate motor to prevent theft of the motor, security gates over every door, burglar bars, and a house alarm system with infrared sensors linked to armed response with a reaction time of under 3-4 minutes. Drinking beer before 12 o'clock and seeing it as part of the culture. Australia, my Aussie flatmate always used to say 1 before 10 or 10 before 1. Sprinkles on buttered bread is made by fairies and is perfect for kids' parties. And anything negative said about said treat is sacrilegious. In the Netherlands we call this breakfast. In my country you bike everywhere. Cars aren't used much. For longer distances you mostly use train and public transport. Also being 6 foot is normal. Deep fried Mars bar. Edit. I'm from New Zealand. For those asking, these are usually sold in fish and chip shops. I don't know why but teenagers from my place, Vietnam, like to put hot sauce on everything, like pizzas, chips, French fries, spaghetti, rice, cakes, hamburgers, anything you can think of. My husband was Vietnamese this whole time. Cheese curds and gravy over fries. In the Philippines, it would be people living with their parents. Everybody I know whose parents' homes are in the city choose to live there. With a relatively low wage to cost of living ratio, it is not unusual for married couples to share houses with their in-laws. I work remote and I still live with my parents and pay 0 rent. Of course, I pay all the bills, feed them and do all the home repairs and chores. Having a garbage can in the bathroom for used toilet paper. That's actually really common in a lot of countries. A lot of sewer systems can't handle toilet paper. I'm from the USA and my girlfriend is from Singapore. The amount of pumpkin stuff we consume practically frightens her. Can confirm. Wife is inhaling all the pumpkin things. Unsuccessfully helping your dad look for one of his missing thongs and then watching him squeeze into one of your mums so he can go out into the backyard and get the laundry. I'm told the rest of you incorrectly call them flip-flops. I was going to say pineapple, beetroot and fried eggs in our hamburgers, but yours is way better. What do you call underpants that go between your ass cheeks? I suppose that's a flip-flop. Direct democracy in Switzerland. It often baffles me when I read what the government can pull off in other countries without ever involving the population. Like, yay, you get to elect representatives, but it often seems to me that those people then elect someone who elects someone who elects someone. Is it really still democracy if you're about 5 steps removed from the actual decisions? Paying for small things with 50 franc notes. In Switzerland it's the norm. In Ireland or the UK, it constitutes a war crime. Well yeah, since we don't use francs,